2 o'clock exactly.
Okay. Ready? Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the June edition of the HomeNE webinar series for 2018. I'm Sharon Hifley with the South Central Economic Development District. The HomeNE program is a learning network geared towards housing in rural communities. We provide face-to-face opportunities to foster interaction, engagement, and skill building for local leaders and conveners. This program is modeled after a similar program in South Dakota, and it was established just late last year. The program consists of monthly webinars as well as 2 gatherings per year. If you're on your computer where you can see the screens, you'll be able to see here the map that shows the home location of webinar series participants. So you can see we're reaching across the state, and we're really happy about that. We believe that we get the most out of this webinar when we can connect a diverse group of people to hear about the successes and opportunities. South Central Economic Development District does act as the lead agent for HomeNE, but our advisory group is made up from people across the state. Each HomeNE event is intended to provide experiential learning. So our hope is to empower you to immediately apply what you learn. I hope you're ready to keep up with Nancy Strebel today. I've known Nancy for at least 12 years. I find she's a bundle of energy and a load of creativity, and I'm excited to hear about the cottages that she's developing in North Platte. So welcome to today's call.
All right, well, let's jump in and see who's joining us today. It looks like we have quite a few people on the line. We've tested audio for a few people, but it's a good opportunity to ensure everyone is up and running. So when I call your name, please open up your individual microphone. If you have a problem doing that, let me know. And I'd like you to introduce yourself, your community, and your occupation or role. If you're having trouble with your microphone, there's also a chat box option, so you can use that if you need to as well. You can type in your response, and I'll read that as well. So looks like we have Laura Berthelsen.
Yes, from St. Paul.
Okay, great. Glad you could join us today. Sherry and Sharon.
We're here.
Okay, we have Lori Ferguson.
I'm here.
Marty Barnhart.
I'm Marty Barnhart. I'm with the Omaha Land Bank in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, Chelsea Luthi.
I'm Chelsea Luthi. I'm with Central Nebraska Economic Development District. I'm based out of Cody.
And Dana Dennison.
I am Dana Dennison. I'm the Executive Director of Ravenna Economic Development.
Okay, Nancy Strebel. Am I saying that right? Sorry.
Strebel. No worry, Francis. I'm with Lincoln County Community Development Corporation out of North Platte, Nebraska. Lincoln County, not the city of Lincoln.
Heather Overturf. What about Judy Peterson?
Judy Peterson, Executive Director, Central Nebraska Economic Development District out of Chambers.
Oh, I got a text or a message from Heather Overturf. It looks like her, Derek Clark, and Sonia Schmidt are all out of City of Superior. And Judy Johnson from Homestead Bank of St. Paul. Christy McClung, are you on the line?
I am Christy McClung. I work for the State of Nebraska Department of Economic Development as the Western Housing Specialist, and I office out of my home in Big Springs, Nebraska. Currently in Lincoln, so thanks for letting me join today.
Great, thank you. Pat Powell. Okay. And I have a message from Cheryl Carson, who's joining us from Arnold Economic Development in Arnold, Nebraska. Oh, and Pat Powell from Stromsburg, Nebraska is also on the line. And Matt Kavanaugh.
Hi, this is Matthew Kavanaugh from Nebraska Housing Developers Association, statewide organization based in Lincoln.
Thank you. About Paul Bartlett.
I'm here, just got on a little bit late.
No problem. Where are you joining us from today, Paul?
I am in Kearney, and I am semi-retired, but I've had a long career with affordable housing, and I'm interested in the topic.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. Okay, is there anyone else on the line that hasn't had an opportunity to check in? No? All right. Well, thank you. Before we get started with the presentations, I just want to go over an overview of the agenda. So first, we're going to have Nancy with Lincoln County speak with us. She'll be discussing ideas for non-traditional housing. We'll then open up the room for any questions related to the presentation, discuss ideas as a group, and finally, we'll debrief on the webinar and share some final thoughts for deeper learning. So we'll also give you the opportunity to ask questions after the presentation. However, you can use a chat box at any time. With that, Sharon, if you want to go ahead and introduce our speaker.
All right, yes, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest presenter today, Nancy Strebel. Nancy became the executive director of the Lincoln County Community Development Corporation in October of 2001. Prior to that, she had experience with cities and nonprofits in housing and community development. She worked in Lincoln, Nebraska, Littleton, Colorado, Lawrence, Massachusetts, Southeastern Colorado, and North Platte. During an 18-month stint running the homeless shelter, she learned that there was an affordable housing shortage in North Platte. The Union Pacific Railroad had transients to house, and there were a large number of local individuals and families seeking shelter because they had lost their homes in one way or another. These were the working poor. When the position of executive director of the Lincoln County Community Development Corporation became available, she applied and told the board, "This is my dream job." And we are all grateful that they hired her, but none more than the city of North Platte. Since 2001, she has been responsible for the addition of 304 housing units, leveraging over $7.9 million in state and federal investment and nearly $28 million in total project costs. So welcome, Nancy. Nancy, you're muted. Can you unmute? Lower left corner.
Okay, yeah. I've got it.
There you go.
I'm coming. It's just taking a moment here to zoom up the PowerPoint. And thank you. It was quicker, wasn't it, Francis, when we practiced?
I knew we were going to have a little problems. I'm sorry.
No, we're not. It's not a sorry. It's just, it was quicker. I promise. I think. There we go. Okay. You know, Lincoln County CDC was created by the community because basically nobody was doing affordable housing at that point in time. And we're going back to 1996, long time ago. And so as a result, the board, how do you like this? I blame it on the board. The board has had the attitude that, you know, if nobody else is doing it, we're going to try it, you know, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Well, lo and behold, we were approached by the city of North Platte about some issues which you all have talked about for a long time, and what to do with properties that have got condemned houses and buildings on them. And the building inspector came over and talked to me about that and said, "What can we do?" And I said, "Oh, I think we can do something." And he said, "Can you get any money?" And yes, Christy McClung, I said, "Sure I can," right? So we put together a program where we're really doing and so what happens is Lincoln County CDC are refunded the demolition issues, the demolition costs, as we knock them down and put up new houses. And so these are inner city lots. So they're not exactly conforming lots to today's standards. Some of our large lots are like 44 by 132 feet. And so this program, plus doing a housing study in 2010, where we heard from some focus groups that housing cost, construction cost, was really a barrier to home ownership. Well, I can't do anything about construction costs. Materials are going to be the cost of materials. But I can do something about square footage. And so we got enamored by smaller houses because we were doing the 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath with a single car attached garage kind of thing. So we got to thinking, what if we do some of these tiny houses? Now, I must tell you, with our compadres, Incremental Development Alliance, we have gotten classier in referring to them as tiny houses. We now call them cottages. Isn't that cute? The reason being, tiny houses kind of connote something on a flatbed trailer that you can move around, and these things are put on foundations. So you can always learn something new, can't you? So what ended up happening is we started first out going to the city planner and saying, hey, what can we do? If we wanted to build a smaller than 1,200 square foot house, how low can we go? And according to the zoning regulations, we could go down to 900 square feet. So with the building inspectors, and with our construction team, we were trying to find out what 900 square feet was, because our contractors thought that meant a garage, you know. And we really weren't talking about garages. We were talking about a living environment, a house. So it took a little bit for us to get the communication down that we wanted more than a garage. We wanted actually bedrooms and a bathroom and a kitchen thing going on. And so we came up with these 900 square feet cottages and thought that that might bridge the gap of our barrier of cost and filling in these inner city lots, which are kind of non-conforming and weird shaped. So we applied for funds and were graciously funded. And this is where the PowerPoint presentation comes in. Anybody have any comments? I'm going. This was one of our first houses. We bought the house. The original house you'll see is that kind of taupey brown thing. Found out there were foundation issues such that it was just incredible. Again, with city funds, we demolished that house and we built this cute little 2-story thing. And what the 2-story is it's an open concept with a kitchen, and here's the plan, the floor plan, kitchen, open space, a bathroom, a half bath, because I'm a mom, and what 2-year-old is going to make it up the stairs? You know, it's not going to happen. So half bath, and half bath had a laundry room connected to it. Then upstairs, there are the 2 bedrooms with a full bath. And that was our initial building. We thought, what the heck, let's try this and see how it goes. Well, it was sold pretty quickly. On the same block, I don't know why it is, we find these half block or block areas where we kind of take over buying the property, you know, acquiring the property. This was a condemned house. The story about the man, and that's where I got the reputation for rating nursing homes, and I don't, but there have been several people who've been in nursing homes who've, their children have come and said, please take this off our hands. Dad has been court ordered not to ever do any remodeling or anything again. Will you buy this house? And yeah, we will, you know, and we did. So it was again a condemned house, which we put a prototype of our 2-story houses on it. the real issue we've got with constructing these things is the stairway, getting them up to building code. We have a tendency to take a little bit more of the open space than we wanted to make it so that the stairs are in code compliance. So that's why there's a little bit of change in design. And also, I don't like building the same house all the time, you know? It's just kind of boring. So anyway, that's generally the same floor plan as you saw before, except the stairway provided a little bit of a barrier from Front Street, which, if you know North Platte, it is just south of the railroad area, so a little bit of noise control. So you could actually sit on the front porch. And the person that bought this house does sit on the front porch. Again, we're still on North Lincoln, same block. Another situation where mom was put in a nursing home, and the children came and said, will you buy this house? And of course we would. We bought it, and then we built the house that's over to your right. Again, 900 square feet. We fooled around because of the stairway situation, making the house a little wider than the previous houses, but it's still the 900 square feet. And sorry about the plan, it comes up a little light, but still the same idea. First floor, kitchen, bathroom with laundry room, open space, and then upstairs the full bath, and then the 2 bedrooms. This is the first one that we did a 1-floor concept. We were approached by an older couple. He had been in an accident and was not mobile at all. He had was a semi-truck driver and had a serious head injury. Lucky that he's alive. And so we went to the single-story configuration of our 900 square foot house. And again, it's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. And that's simply the floor plan. Just at the back is the 2 bedrooms with the kitchen to the front. It was made handicap accessible with a ramp going up to the front porch that they could access, and so it was kind of a cool project. Similar house. We were able to get we call this the water house because the basement was flooded. The water house that was condemned, and we're able to build again a 1-story 900 square foot house on that lot. So these houses are side by side, and they kind of work in the neighborhood, you know, similar kinds of things with the front porch access, that sort of thing. One of the things that we feel is really important is kind of blending into that neighborhood. So even though you're a newer house, you can kind of have some of the accoutrements of the neighborhood. And again, the floor plan there, 2 bedrooms to the back, a large bathroom with a washer dryer, you know, kitchen, open out to an open space living room. Another one on West 5th. The population that we serve is 80% below very median income for Lincoln County. And so the people who buy these houses, this was a teacher who bought this house, nurses, mechanics, just regular working folks, you know. And again, the same kind of a floor plan as you've seen before. Another one that we did on West 9th. This was a curious one. Talk about do-overs. We were able to purchase a house that was in foreclosure that we had built like, I think it was like 1999. And we went in and rehabbed that house because there was considerable work to be done, but it had a lot next to it, an oversized, a lot that had never been part of the property. And so we were able to put a tiny house on that. And again, the floor plan, you know, the bedrooms to the back, kitchen, bath, open up, ooh, that's funny looking, open up to the open space. That's it.
Okay, hold on just a second while I switch screens here. Right. Well, thank you, Nancy. That was a great presentation. A lot of really useful information. I love the pictures. If you have any questions, you can either unmute yourself. If you have questions for Nancy to clarify any of the information she's shared today. I see one here from Marty Barnhart. Are you willing to sell the floor plans?
Of course.
Okay.
The floor plans are pretty straightforward and simple. We did not include garages on these houses, and it was a cost factor. Remember, the cost of new construction was a barrier. So that was something if people wanted to do on their own, they could do at some point in time. Out of the 14 houses that we've done that are tiny houses, there's been one garage built.
All right.
Nancy, I think you need to give them full disclosure about your experience and how you're the one that actually adjusts all these blueprints and designs. You need to talk about that a little bit. They need to know who they're really hearing from.
Well, you know, I mean, we came up with the ideas. We did the adjustments based on the lot. It wasn't all me, myself, and I. I worked with the building inspectors, and I worked with a couple of others to make sure that we could get our idea to fit the lot. Does that make sense? So, you know, and yes, the boys didn't like that I wanted them to be cute, and a few other things like that we would go around about. But basically, yeah, we did it.
Okay, it looks like I have another question from Heather. Says, hi Nancy, what is the cost per square foot to build and what is the purchase price normally?
Oh, we've done this over a score of years. Okay, now don't fall over dead. I think the first one we did, 1,000 price point.
Oh, could you repeat that? I think we're having a little problems with the audio.
$70,000 price point. So very affordable. Now the price of construction has gone up, and so we're talking about in the 90s. And basically it's just because my materials costs have gone up in I think our first one that we did was like in 2005, 2006. So it's changed that much.
Great. I see another one here from Chelsea. Do these homes get coupled with down payment assistance?
Absolutely. And it you know, part of it, the affordability factor depends upon the time. We did down payment and closing cost assistance with the first one, and anywhere from, okay, don't pass out on me again, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 depending upon the income range of the homeowner.
Great. Does anybody have any other questions they'd like to ask Nancy about her presentation or her program? Okay, what is the size of the lot on average?
I'm going to say 44 by 132. If I had to go out and say most of the time, what are we building on? It's somewhere in that neighborhood, somewhere in that range, but it changes. That was really a screwy answer, wasn't it?
Was the purchase price 70 to 90K or the cost to build?
The purchase price. No. One of the things my board of directors would love is if we would break even on the sale of our properties. We come close. But the priority is affordability to our home buyer.
Okay. Are the appraisals coming in at or above the cost to build?
Yes, they're above the cost to build.
Great. And we have another question. Did that cover the cost of the lot and the demo?
I beg your pardon?
I think it was related to the question before that, but did that cover the cost of lot and demo?
Yes. Remember, we were reimbursed for the demo by the city of North Platte. So that cost was over and above.
What are some of the biggest zoning issues you face when you come to build these cottages?
Setbacks, like corner lot setbacks, that sort of thing. And Jennifer, that's where I've been known as the variance queen of Lincoln County.
Okay.
You just go and you just, share your story with Planning Commission and City Council, and, knock on wood, they've been very cooperative up till this point, as far, and I get my lecture, as I told you before, if it wasn't Lincoln County CDC doing this, we wouldn't do it, and I hang my head and I thank them graciously, just like y'all do.
Are there any other struggles you've had working with any of the community members, or anything you want to elaborate or talk to us about?
I had a doctor who lived about 6 blocks away in one of these older kind of semi-mansion kind of things, who came in one day and told us that he didn't think that what we were doing was good for his neighborhood.
How do you respond to that kind of question, though? Because we do know that these PUDs, they hold these cottages, they hold their value. Yes. They do help to increase neighborhood viability, and a lot of people want those different kinds of housing options all in the same neighborhood. So how do you respond to the naysayers?
Well, I just showed him the before and the after, and this is what was there, and if we hadn't come in, it would still be there. I mean, and so we parted ways amicably, Part of it is just understanding.
Okay. If a community is interested in duplicating your program, what would you say are the first 2 to 3 steps to starting?
It would be lovely to get the municipality on board so that they would reimburse you for your demolition costs. That would be lovely. The second thing is talking to your planner to get the parameters of how much of a square footage, what's the minimum square footage that's there. I would like to talk to our planner about the potential of doing a 750 square foot house. And, obviously we would be talking about housing a single person, something like that. But I think that could be very interesting. And the other thing that I would love to talk to her about, so Judy, run, is the possibility of having 2 750 square foot houses on a lot. Sort of stacking them a little bit, kind of centering them, half lot each. I think that could do a lot, again, for low-income single people, reaching them, first-time home buyers who fit that scenario. I'm thinking about people who have the same color of hair that I do right now, older people, less to manage as far as property is concerned, maintenance is concerned. And I think there could be some really nice prototypes that are there. We're working with a couple of our partners on how to make that happen. So that's kind of a goal.
Great. Can you re-explain to us how all of the funding for these projects work?
Yeah. Christy McClung, shut your ears. I'm joking. I'm seriously joking. Most of these projects were funded through trust funds, through DED. We, for the first 2 houses we would build, we would acquire them, or they would be donated to us, and both of those things had happened. houses, you will pick up a condemned property, maybe in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000. Okay, so a little tiny bit above lot prices. What I was giving for lot prices. Our demolition costs will be somewhere between $7,000 to $9,000, and that's getting the lot prepared. So any foundation has been removed, all that kind of stuff. The lot has been prepared for that. And those costs come from the city, the municipality. They're reimbursing those. And then, we're building our tiny houses, so 900 square foot times somewhere in the neighborhood of just under $90,000, just right around the $90,000 price point. Okay. Were our last bids. Does that help?
I believe so. I do not have any follow-up questions for that.
So the first two houses we would be using the trust fund dollars basically for, and the last two houses would be built from the proceeds of the sale of a house. So using those, that program income stuff, So that's how we worked it.
So Nancy, when you're, so let's say you had 180,000 from trust fund, would that be about right?
Yep.
So you built two. Where does the down payment assistance come in then when you sell those?
Sometimes I've built it in, sometimes I've gotten it elsewhere. It depends. I believe, now I'm going to go back, okay, and say I believe that with trust funds and with home funds, I've got to build it into the program, at least a portion of it. But I also have had down payment closing cost assistance return several years, which I would reuse that money. And so I didn't always ask for, if I was doing 4 houses, I didn't always ask for $40,000. Because I would have some money that had been returned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, some program income.
Yep. And that way I was keeping that program income spent.
Okay.
What is your process for obtaining bids or securing contractors to build each home? Do you act as the general contractor?
We've done both. We've acted, we are a 2-person office. So it's like, look out, Loretta, And there are times when we've got the capabilities to be the general, and we do a really good job, have done a really good job of that. But then there's times when we don't. And there's times when it's been me, myself, and I, because somebody's left. How dare they leave, right? What do you do, right? So we've also been in situations where the contractor has been the general, and we've overseen that work. It depends upon our staffing circumstances as to how we proceed with a project. We've been lucky. We have always been able to work with some really good contractors over the years, different ones, but they've always been really good and helped us develop a really good product. So yeah, we both general and allow and oversee the contractor as the general. It just depends upon, again, our staffing situation.
Yeah, so you were talking about doing those 2 homes in with 750 square feet. Have you considered putting together a planned unit development with North Platte, or do they have that in their zoning ordinance at all?
Well, the plan unit development that we've done, Jennifer, is with rental houses, duplexes. And so I haven't graduated to the single family yet. I started. Why do I start with rentals and then go to single family? Is that a little bass backwards? But anyway, that's what I did, And so that's the one that we're doing right now. But we know that there's a possibility if we could acquire several lots together that we could do this. I just haven't right now been able to acquire the lots.
Okay. Have you been looking in the north part of North Platte at all?
Yeah, we look in the north part. We look in anything like north of 4th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're familiar with North Platte.
Okay, great, thanks.
Uh-huh.
We have another question here. What is the timeline to build a 900 square foot home?
It's no different than a 1,200 square foot home. Don't ask me why. Honest to Pete, it seems, I'm going to go back. And I'm thinking of the most recent ones that we've done. That was that pregnant pause there, you know. We started and a foundation was laid in December, and we sold the house. It was sold in May. So they would hurry up late fall and get all the roughing the work so they could work inside. And honest to Pete, what they're doing our jobs alongside of other jobs. You know, that's typical for contractors. And I don't get a lot of heartburn over that. I want them to make money, so they'll still play with us, you know. And so for us, that works out pretty well.
Great. Does anybody have any other questions they'd like to ask Nancy? They say experience is the best teacher. Anything you might have done differently or are doing differently today from when you first started?
A lot of things. This is not about tiny houses, okay? I'm gonna tell you the truth though. As I said, we'll venture out and we'll try anything once. That would be the board, okay? I mean, you know, and that's a good thing, and I'm grateful that they're that way. We've been building 900 square foot houses. We've been building 1,200 square foot houses, and we've been doing purchase, rehab, resale, and been very successful at doing that. We stretched up to 1,400 square foot houses. Whoops. That didn't work out so well. we did two, held on to them too long, and now we're back to the 1,200 and the 900. We're really happy about that, you know. So we found our niche. We found where it works for our community, and we're back doing that.
Great. So do you have any particular words of advice for those listening in?
Oh, why not try it? You know, I mean, I guess when we can figure out as a team, the board of directors and myself, how to make it work and make it run, you know, we'll try it. So we thought things were going to work out a little better than they did. You know, that happens.
Great. Is there any consideration to build a 2-unit stack, 2-story consisting of 1 bedroom, 1 bath?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
With your smaller, the 750 unit that you're planning, will there still be a bedroom in that unit, or are you planning on making that a studio type unit?
I would like to have a bedroom. That's my druther. So part of it is just working out the square footage to see, you know, if it would be like a single bedroom, you know, walls, wall mattress and a single bed, how that would work, you know. And
yeah, because I noticed there were some in Hershey that they're calling micro units that have a Murphy bed and no living room. So I got to tour one, and I'm not sure that's the best kind of living arrangement for that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. And across City Hall, there's some really tiny ones. It used to be a park area that was built, and that's too small. Again, you know, so I think that there's a way to work out a happy medium on these things where there can be a little bit of a privacy with a decent size, well, not a, you know, an appropriate size bedroom for the configuration of the unit, but has some privacy.
Nancy, you talk a lot about your board being willing to take risks, and I think it makes a big difference who's on your board. Can you talk about that? What is kind of the makeup, and how do they get there? And
well, you know, when I was hired, we had a brand new board. We had an issue in the early, well, we were started in 1996, and we had a real serious issue where funds were commingled with the Golden Spike project. Okay, so we got that straightened out, and that was nothing that the existing board did or I did. It was the sins of another, you know. And so we are heavy on lenders. And as a result of that mistake, we've always had a lot of loan officers on our board, which gives us a lot of good dollars and cents overseeing, which is why they get really happy when they figure out we're breaking even as opposed to, losing the farm. And that's been very helpful. A third of our board is people who've used our programs. So low-income people who've had experience either in the owner-occupied rehab or the home ownership thing that can speak with exactly, what the experience was and that sort of thing. And they give us some really good input as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I would say right now, there's a 9-member board, and half of them, 4 of them are with the banking arena. They've also forced us to do some things that I really didn't talk about because I didn't talk about financing so much. In the last 2 years, we have stretched to, instead of just solely relying on program income that we've had and trust fund dollars, we leverage our money with bank loans, construction loans. And so that was a big step for us, being able to leverage and find out that that it works, and it does work. But I will tell you, they made me do it.
I might have missed this in the presentation, but is there an income qualification requirement that you have?
80% of area median income and below. We used to be a CHOTO, so we still follow those guidelines. I don't know why.
All right. Are there any more questions?
I'm curious if Christy McClung would speak to that income guideline and the possibilities for projects like this. Christy, can I put you on the spot?
I don't know if she's having any audio problems. I can't unmute her microphone on my end. So.
I guess I'll take that as a no for right now.
All right, well, I believe those are all the questions that I've received on my end. So now I'm thinking we could open the room up. I'm gonna unmute everybody's microphones and probably just ask a few questions if we just kind of want to answer whatever may apply to you. Okay, so was there an aha moment for anyone during this presentation? Anybody have anything they'd like to share?
Well, I was fortunate to hear Nancy a little over a year ago, but I know I have some lots in some communities that we serve that I'm thinking this would be a perfect fit for. So I'm excited to be reminded how she put all this together.
I want to add to that and appreciate it too, Nancy. Thank you, Marty Barnhart here. My video is not working, but thanks for the idea. We've got a number of properties here in Omaha that are 40 feet wide or less, and this kind of concept would fit very, very well on that and yet lend itself to historicity in a neighborhood, good aesthetics, but even better than that, affordability. So we're excited because we're looking at about 400 properties that are going to be coming into our inventory this fall, and many of those will be this non-traditional size just because they're 100 years old or more in lot size, many of which are demolition properties already. So we'll take them in the inventory, cancel the taxes that are due on them, and then move forward to be able to ask developers to develop them. So the plans for us would be very nice to have, and we'll talk to you about that offline about obtaining some of those plans and shopping those to some of our developers. So thank you.
Great. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to that? Okay. I know we have a lot of community developers on the line. How do you see your community capitalizing on this cottage or tiny home concept? Does anybody have any insight of how this might help their community?
Well, I can kind of piggyback off of what Sharon had talked about, and I know that some of the communities that we are working with doing their comprehensive plans and zoning updates have been talking about making sure that their zoning ordinances are updated and can allow for these small homes, because a lot of them, as Nancy had talked about, the setbacks are weird or they require bigger homes. So we're making sure that our communities can or at least don't have a barrier to entry. Like, I'm not saying they'll necessarily put them in, but we're trying to remove all the barriers that are there.
Okay, are there any similar kinds of efforts in your communities that you may like to share with us?
Be really curious to hear what Superior's thinking about. If we have Derek and Sonia and Heather all in one room and asking a lot of questions, I want to hear what's going on while you're muted and what your thoughts are.
I have a question here or a comment here from Judy Peterson. She says their community will be working with Housing Study Light with communities, and we'll keep this idea in mind for special or small lots. And Heather is responding that she cannot get her speaker to work. They are discussing appropriate spaces and etc. and are concerned with affordability. All right. What about anticipating challenges to this concept in your community? Is anybody concerned with how their community may interpret this, or if they'll accept it? Any challenges they may face?
One of the communities that Levi and I have been talking about implementing this, it's not the way they've always done it. And so a little concerned about their ideas. We'll be looking at some things of, can we maybe split lots or just do some creative things like that, and for the smaller homes so that they are affordable. And I think it will be interesting to see if we can get it through. You know, we have the first person that we have to talk to. When you walk in the room, he says no, and then you start to ask, and he says no. And so it will be interesting to see if we get anywhere with that. That will be one of our first hurdles. But we're not going to look at it as a problem. We're going to look at it as an opportunity to find a solution.
Heather has a comment here saying that they think it would be well accepted and that there's a need in Superior for that type of housing. What do you see as the benefits of this approach? Anybody have any ideas on how this could improve their community?
Well, again, I see a benefit of it as just affordable housing is a problem out here. We have a huge workforce demand and not a lot of people out there to fill the demand. And one of the main reasons is that people are saying they can't find housing in the first place.
This is Matthew from NHDA. What I like about this model is that it approaches in an infill approach so you're building affordable housing somewhere in the middle of a community instead of on the edges, which I'm not too familiar with North Platte, and Nancy, I'm excited to get to see it with you, but I'm guessing that this puts people closer to jobs and closer to other folks in their community and those opportunities, which is something that we want to keep in mind when developing affordable housing.
May I say something too?
Absolutely.
Matthew, you're spot on. We are not having to worry about infrastructure development because it's there, you know. So that's a big cost that we miss, thank goodness.
And that raises a question that I was wondering about a little bit, and that is just has it been considered how this is impacted by the TIF for workforce housing legislation? And because one of the thoughts I had when we worked on that bill was that when you're doing a development, I don't see the advantage of being able to TIF the housing when you could just as easily use the financing for the roads and all the other infrastructure that would go into it. But you really are building housing on and just housing. And is this an opportunity where you'd be able to take that increment and put that to work, or maybe do a few houses all at once and do that? Is there a new opportunity because of that legislation? Have you thought about that yet?
Matthew, are you asking me? Or generally?
I guess so.
Okay.
I guess you're the expert, so I don't know.
Okay. I'm from North Platte, Nebraska, the home of Senator Groney, and thou shalt not TIF a damn thing, okay? Just saying, you know.
Enough said.
Okay. But I'm sure in other areas it would be quite feasible.
I would think there would be opportunity to use the incremental tax to pay for more demo and site prep within the region, which would enable you to keep that rolling. I think that is a good opportunity, Matthew.
I have a comment here. I think the phrase action breeds action is true in this case. If one is built in your community, it may be just the kickstart for others to see what's possible. And another one, it could open up larger homes for families by providing a smaller space for an elderly person. Great. Does anybody else have any other feedback or questions for anybody here? Okay, looks like we're going to end a little early. So as we bring this meeting to a close, I'd just like to thank everyone, especially our speaker, Nancy, for taking time to pass along such great information. As always, we strongly encourage feedback on the HomeNE program. If you have any topics or speakers in mind for future webinars or suggestions for communities in which to hold a future gathering, please contact us. In July, we will be discussing incentivizing housing solutions with local sales tax, LB 840. We have a couple of guest speakers, Luann Tooker with the City of Atkinson, Nebraska, and Gary Person with the North Platte Area Chamber of Commerce. So keep an eye out for details on that. If you'd like to review this session or any previous webinars, we have recorded. They're available on YouTube. The link is on our homepage at www.sked.us/HomeNE. So thanks again, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.